sort of thing you're betting on.
But no, they just came up with numbers.
Big,
And he was like, yeah, what time is it, sweet cheeks? 8:21, so I'm going to do 8:21, and you're going to spin it all the way. So 8:21, 1:28, 2:18. And I was like, what does this all mean?
What does that mean, you know?
Hi, I'm Danielle.
And I'm Dell.
And this is the Black Catch-Up, where we're catching up on iconic black media we missed out on in our more conservative religious childhood.
Alright, so today, continuing with Black History Month,
Yes.
we watched
Malcolm X. Yes. So, starting off with the IMDb. Biographical epic of the controversial and influential black nationalist leader from his early life and career as a small-time gangster to his ministry as a member of the Nation of Islam. This was directed by Spike Lee. So, what did Spike Lee was?
Alright, another Spike Lee joint.
Yep.
Alright, as usual, we're going to kind of start off with things we liked about the movie.
Yes.
You want to kick it off?
Yeah, I'll kick it off. So the first thing I have was I enjoyed one of the first scenes where they're swing dancing at the club. I just thought it was choreographed very well, and it looked really nice. I always like dancing scenes.
Yeah.
As you guys probably know, I like musical type things. So I like the dance scenes, and I thought it was a pretty good introduction to the characters.
Yeah, the first thing I had, I really liked the story as a whole. The story of Malcolm X is like just a very powerful story, and I thought they showed it in like a very detailed and easy to follow way almost. Like it was like I think we watched some other biopics that were kind of hard to follow.
I have a quick contradiction about the easy to follow, just on certain points, but we'll get to that in my dislikes.
Oh, okay, yeah. To be honest, I have some things in my dislike related to the same thing.
Okay.
But yeah,
overall, it was pretty easy
overall, I
to
really
follow.
did like the story, and I like Denzel's portrayal of Malcolm X
Denzel
as
was
well.
so good.
But I thought it was like very detailed, just a powerful message.
Yeah. The next thing I have is specific scene. I enjoyed the dictionary scene while he's locked up in prison, and he meets with one of the Nation of Islam people. I don't remember his name.
Benny. His name was something like that. I think I might be making that
This
up.
was like hours ago at this point.
Yeah.
But I just like where they're looking at the definition of white and black, and he's telling him to like and he's telling him to like take everything that you were taught by the white man and like turn it on its head. And I loved that scene. I thought it was very powerful. Him just going through that.
I really like that scene too. I guess kind of similar to like the dancing scene. I just kind of like the Spike Lee-isms. The kind of the like real beautiful shots of two characters, or like just like very good lighting in some scenes. I just thought he had like some just really good scenes. One specific thing I like that he did was the suit colors in the beginning. Him and Spike Lee in the colored suits.
I love those.
And then once he like fully committed to like that gangster life, he put on that gray suit, and that was kind of like I just liked how he used that like color to kind of show
like his
character
uniform.
Exactly. He went from that kind of like happy, kind of just doing whatever. It's like once he started like turning that full into that street life, he kind of put on that gray suit to be like a little less noticeable, I guess. So I really like.
And then he had a black suit on after he dropped his little and became it.
So I just like those like little transitions like that.
Speaking of powerful scenes, I love every part of the scene, or like the sequence from when Brother Johnson gets beat up by the cops, from when it first started.
Okay.
From when it first started, where we have the two people talking, and you don't see Malcolm X immediately. They're just like talking to each other, like, what are they gonna do about it? The Nation of Islam, no one cares if you're Muslim, and like that. And then all of a sudden you see Malcolm X, that he's in there, and then to them going to the cops in their like tight formation and demanding to see him, and then from when they like were like, we're not stopping, just you took him to the ambulance. Who knows what's happening there? To them going to the ambulance and like, and everyone slowly like joining the crowd. To after they find out that he's good, and the police are like, hey guys, this is like. They're like essentially scared of him because it's just like a huge group of black people who are upset that one of their own was brutalized by the police. Oh no, that sounds so familiar. But and then Malcolm X just does, and then everyone leaves. Like that was. You're not gonna see that because
it definitely shows like the power of him. And like who he really like.
And he's like kind of dangerous in that moment. Like I don't even know. Dangerous is a good word.
I mean, to a certain extent, he has his own militia at that point.
Yeah, he just has
to a certain extent, he has his own army.
He's charismatic, and he has like a huge group of people who like followed him after he just did like one little hand signal. Like that was top notch.
No, that was a great scene. similar to like, I guess like the powerfulness of this film. I thought they did a good job in like incorporating his like real speeches in this one.
Oh yeah.
Like I thought we got a good taste of a lot of his speeches. Not that like I know all his speeches or like
I did not know all
fully
of them.
like I can't confirm which things were part of his speeches and which weren't. But it felt like a lot of things I had heard before. Like I heard like a lot of lines I kind of heard, and so I assumed there were a lot of his speeches. But I like how they were able to like really put those in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. The last thing that I have is another sequence that I just really liked was right, but after his family has had the brick and the fire thrown through their window and they're living at the hotel, there's a sequence where there's this dance going on. I don't actually know what that dance was for. I can't remember.
Yeah. Well, I think that was the event he was supposed to be out at.
Oh, okay.
But he was kind of like scared because he was getting all these calls.
So yeah, you have that dance going on and the music is like nice and heightened and everyone's dancing and he's at home and the phone's constantly ringing.
Yeah.
I just love that. The phone like ringing and then he would just every once in a while pick it up and slam it down, but his wife would like pick it up and answer and you'd hear like the slurs thrown at them.
Yeah.
I just like that, like you could feel like the powder keg, like the sparks splittering
like
around and you know
like,
something's about to happen. And you don't know when it's going to happen. You just know that he's like in grave danger and then there's the constant ringing that's probably in his ear. It was so good. I love that.
Okay. Is that I guess all you have?
That's all I have.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty much all I had. I guess to kind of like go into the dislikes. There's something that I kind of have on the fence.
Okay.
Not on the fence, but I really liked the first third of the movie. And by first third, I mean up until he was released from prison.
Yes.
I thought it was a beautifully shot. Like I thought a lot of the like more powerful scenes I had were in that first third.
Yeah. A lot of
like I really liked like the dancing scene, the suit thing. I even liked that gun in the mouth scene, or not the gun in the mouth scene.
Oh, I know what you mean.
The scene at the table where he was like, "All right, let's flip."
It was where they're about to rob people.
Yeah, and he was like, "All right," and some guy comes up and questions Malcolm's like leadership of the group. He's like, "All right, let's flip for it," and then basically plays Russian roulette with him. So I thought there were a lot of But I thought there were a lot of like very just powerful scenes in that first third. But in a 3-hour movie, I think that whole first third could have been cut. Like I almost think. It almost felt like two separate films that like
I have that exact note out here.
Yeah, that pre getting released from prison versus post release from prison. And I understand why they did it, because I think an important part about Malcolm X's story is that transition from okay, I was this gangster type and then I, converted to like Nation of Islam and now I'm, doing this ministry work and things like that. So I understand why they did it. But the movie was 3.5 goddamn it was 3.5 it's way too long to be having like an hour and a half build up to this thing.
Yeah.
So like I almost wish they would have like either just separated into two movies or something, or like just like summarize that first part because again like had the movie not been 3.5 hours I would have appreciated that. Like I appreciated that first part, but like it's 3.5 hours. I'm sorry, I cannot give you a pass for 3.5 hours. I go care. It's 3.5 hours. Something needs to get cut.
Yeah, I have more or less that exact same note because I did like what we saw.
Exactly,
and it was like it makes sense in the terms of the context of the story. But I think there's a reason why when you have these juggernauts of like black culture, like MLK, we watched Marshall, we have Marshall, like you only do like one case or like one instance
on, like,
or something
one part
like
of their story,
like one part of their story, because if you focus on like the story as a whole, that is so much.
Yeah, no,
there's
a lot to cover.
Because I wrote this is essentially two movies, and I don't know whether or not I'm mad about it. Because like I understand
that's where I'm at too.
Why I understand why I understand that you wanted to show him before, but like this was 3.5 hours, man. I almost feel as though they could have started with him in prison. I thought that would be interesting. If as just like a personal thing, I thought it'd be interesting if they started with him in prison. Maybe do a few flashbacks of what he was doing before, but then you see him like kind of change his way of thinking with Nation of Islam.
I think you could have used the fact that he's in prison to show that like he was something else before, But they really like hammered in that point of like
they
he was a
hammered it home.
And again, they did it with such beautiful scenes that like I was enjoying watching it, and I feel like it fit with the whole story. And like in the end, like you kind of see like little callbacks and almost but 3.5 hours, 3 hours and 30 minutes, like that is unacceptable. Like on a lot of levels, I think.
I think he was like still or just got out of prison. I was like, I'm losing steam. How long?
Yeah, and I was like, we got 2 hours left. Like it felt like the movie just started when he got out of prison. I was like, we've been in this for an hour already.
Because you kind of get the ebb and flow of like his story when you see him go into when you see him like as a gangster on the street and then go into prison. You kind of get that like resolution of that. And then once you're there, once the resolution happens, you're kind of done with the movie. But we weren't
was literally like two movies smashed together, but like the back half of the first movie was the beginning part of the second movie almost.
Yeah.
Because like I would say the first movie is like him being a gangster, and then it ends with his conversion and release from prison, and the other one like starts with him being in prison and kind of learning that.
Yeah. So that's why I personally think this movie, for me at least, could have started with him in prison. If you want to, you could do a few flashbacks of him being a gangster, but like you said, him being in prison kind of shows he wasn't the best person ever. And then slowly, and then you could just still have the same rise, but it just won't be as long.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Okay. So I only have one other note.
Was that your hard to follow point too?
No, okay. my hard to follow point was I felt as though in the beginning it was a little jumbled whenever we started talking about his parents.
Yes, no, I agree. Yeah.
It was like all of a sudden we'd randomly, because I get his father's a preacher. Yes, cool, good thing to know. And the only part of that kind of like made it to fruition throughout the end of the movie was the part where their house is set on fire.
Yeah,
that's the only
I think
part
that's why I was there.
From the beginning part of the movie where they kept flitting into his parents that actually like had a satisfactory like conclusion, a full circle moment. The other parts, like her dad, his mom, like yelling at the insurance person, that I didn't see any point of that. When they kept showing his dad lying on the train tracks, I assume.
Yeah, I guess that was just how they killed his dad.
Yeah, they killing him that way. That kind of didn't show up to fruition either in the end. The only one that I thought really kind of like had a full circle moment was the fire, and you got to see that little juxtaposition there. But that could have been in a flashback, like a quick little flashback. With our prison movie, with our movie that starts in prison, you could have had a quick little flashback where he's talking about his father.
Or you could have squeezed it in when like their house got on fire. You could have like done a flashback to him as a kid or something. You know, like there was a lot of moments for things like for flashbacks.
Yeah, so that was just those moments were the only ones that I thought were like confusing. Because it was like, why are we here? What's going on?
Yeah. All right.
And also, anytime that he talked to that other woman when he was dating the white girl, he also had that black
Laura.
Laura, whoever she. I don't think it was explained to me who she was.
I think she was like the girlfriend early on.
So he was cheating on her with a white girl.
Yeah, I think that was the only point of that whole thing. To be honest.
But that could have been.
Like I literally think that was the point that he was with some white girl. Like I think that was literally the point of that whole thing.
Because that's the only other part that like anytime she randomly popped up, I was like, but she's not doing anything.
Yeah.
She's nothing. What?
I guess this kind of goes into my last so I have like I guess two more points. One of them's like kind of short. Spike Lee, I love Spike. Like I do like Spike Lee, but again, 3.5 hours. Some of his shots are long. Like he like really hammers things. Like you mentioned, you like the dancing scene. I almost fell asleep during that. Not because it wasn't great, but it just went on for a long time in my head, you know? So,
in a different movie, it was great.
Yeah, in a shorter movie, I love that. But in 3.5 hours, Spike Lee, you gotta cut it down a couple, you know? You cut down a couple Spike Lee scenes just by a couple minutes, a few times each. You cut this movie down a little bit. So that was like a short one.
Yeah.
The other one I had, which was like, I don't blame the movie too much for this, because I think it was more like a product of the time and the story they were trying to tell, but I think they like did like a, not like oversimplification of like the Nation of Islam and like their goals, but I think between that and how they like treated women in this movie, like it was just very almost like they had their one formula and just kind of stuck with it, like their like certain narrative. So particularly with like women, like they were very much like, okay, your man needs to take care of you, that kind of thing. That we've seen that before in these movies, but I feel like there were a lot of moments where I thought they were going to do something different. Like when they introduced the lady he ends up marrying.
Yes.
I swear when she first was on the scene, like she had like some empowering moment where like
she did.
They had some like little they had like some little moment. And I was like, oh, she might be like like an actual like supporter, like actually by his side. But then
like a partner. Or something
and then like straight up turned her into a housewife, and I was like, I guess,
I mean, she wanted to be one, so.
But and then
that's one of those dodgy things, and I'm like, I don't
exactly.
know what.
And even that, and then like the whole first third, like they had that whole like white woman narrative, which like that is a thing in history, but again, like it was just odd the way they did it. I thought, and then with
I think they wanted to show like how he completely got rid of the white devil,
exactly,
and how he used to be in with all those temptations or whatever.
And that's where my problem with how they like portrayed like being Muslim. I feel like they just kind of like focused on those 6 vices, and that was it. Like the amount of times they said, yeah, you want to be Muslim, you can't drink, eat pig, or date white women. And that was, like there was a few more things. It was like drinking, alcohol, gambling.
And it was like all the things he used to do.
Yeah. They were just like, there's like these 6 bad things you can't do anymore, and now your life should be good. You know, and I think that's slightly an oversimplification of like
I get
what
you
it means to be Muslim. But I don't fully know because I'm not like fully aware of like what things are in the religion. But I always get like a little wary when like movies kind of do that and like give a very specific spin to a religion or to a argument or something like that.
If we started out in prison like we wanted to,
we
could have probably elaborated on that.
We probably could have, or at least like, I don't know. So I don't know how exactly I fixed that problem, and I don't think it was like a huge problem, but it was just one thing I kind of noticed, and it's kind of like not rubbed me the wrong way, but just kind of like stuck out to me a little bit.
I know what you mean.
But all right, are we ready for ratings?
Yeah, rating time.
Okay. I guess I'll go first. I'll give this one a strong 3.5, like almost to a 4. I think again, like the length kind of like does it for me. Like I really loved it. I actually really loved this movie, and it was everything I would want from a biopic. Like I feel like this is what I want. Like when I think watching a biopic and like coming out of it, this is how I expect to feel. Like having learned this much, having like been this excited by the movie, but 3.5 hours though, like that's where like that's a 0.5 deduction. You know, like had you been able to give me the same feeling, you would have been like at 4.5. But it was just very long, and I'm sorry you have to get penalized for being long, but you know, like it's 3.5 hours. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Same. I also gave it a 3.5 out of 5. A really strong one too. But because I thought Denzel Washington was perfectly cast in this movie, even when they were showing the bits of Malcolm X like in the end, I thought that their similarities visually were pretty spot on, as well as his acting. Like Denzel always brings it, always wonderful. But again, the length of the movie really penalized itself for me because while it gives you all those good feelings, like you learn a lot about someone, but you don't learn too much that you feel like you know everything, so you want to like go out and learn more, or you're kind of also like salty you weren't taught this in school or stuff like that. I still think it's something to be said about being able to tell a story in a short amount of time, and they did not, and I wish they did.
Or like prepare and just like, all right, this is gonna be a 200, you know, like, or this is gonna be a docu-series. I guess docu-series weren't as popular back then, but like this would have been a nice docu-series.
Yeah, this one came out in 92.
Yeah, this would have been.
So this was
3.5 hours in 92. Oof.
Yeah, because now we're used to like something being like a mini series or like movies having sequels essentially, or 2-parters, or like
3 hours is always 3.5 hours is always too long. If you ask me, like
it is.
I get mad at 2-hour movies. So like, add an extra hour and a half. Like I can't do it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All right. Final question. Do you wish you saw this sooner?
I will say yes, if only for the gaps in my knowledge that I have about Malcolm X. I wish I had learned about this sooner. I don't know when sooner, but sooner, because then I would have been like invigorated to want to know more, and just I would have less blind spots, I think, than currently.
Kind of similar spot. I did want to see this movie, so like that alone makes me want to have seen it earlier. And then like again, like it wasn't the perfect biopic to me. Like I got exactly what I wanted out of this one, and really enjoyed it. And I feel like I learned a lot.
Like the James Brown one at points.
Yeah. And again, it kind of did fill in like some of those holes, or at least like create different holes. Like I would almost want to like read a book about Malcolm X. And I probably will at some point in the future. But I enjoyed this one. And I don't know how much earlier I would have wanted to see it.
Yeah.
I guess anytime. Like this is one of them. I'm happy I saw it, and like like yesterday I would have liked to see it the day. You know, so like I don't know how far back that goes, but I definitely would have liked to see this one earlier. But that was Malcolm X.
Yes, it was.
YouTube housekeeping, like, comment, subscribe.
Ring the bell for notifications. If you have any suggestions for movies you want us to watch, you can leave them in the description down below. We do movies on Tuesdays and Fridays, and on Sundays we do music and TV shows. All of our socials will be linked in the description down below, and we'll see you next time to catch up. Bye.
Actually, though, what were these numbers?
I want to look it up, but I don't know what it meant.
What were those numbers? They were just like say numbers and then get money. I was like, is that really how it works?
Is that all gambling is?
Like, I don't know what were the numbers gambled on? Like, I thought they were like lotto numbers at first, but it seemed like people were just like pulling numbers out their ass.
Yeah, they were just giving him like 3 numbers, and then he would write them on a piece of paper, and then I was like,
he wouldn't West Indian Archie. He didn't write anything down. Like,
so it was so wild.
Yeah.
And then the reason that he leaves West Indian Archie is because they're doing coke, and he gives him numbers